Another day, another Mortal Kombat 1 roster tease from Ed Boon. Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Dynasty cosplaying as Johnny Cage today because his right eye is slowly becoming Kano's laser. I promise I don't want to have the Johnny Cage cosplay, but I don't want you guys to see how ugly this thing looks. It's been a pretty rough few days with it, but I'm here as Johnny. But regardless, we're back again with another Mortal Kombat 1 MK1 video because 2 fingers to 1. MK1 video because Ed Boon just never stops hinting and teasing things, and today's been no different. Shout out to Uncanny Carlos because Carlos pieced together this photoshopped image of his predictions for the MK1 cameo roster. Ed Boon saw this and essentially said that several of these characters in this photoshopped image will be in MK1 via the cameo system. So we're gonna break down this entire image, give you guys my thoughts on the characters that are being teased here, confirmed to be in here, kind of sort of some of these. So we're gonna do that today. If you guys are stoked for that, please take 1 second and drop a like on the video from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the love and support lately on the videos. The one from yesterday hit 100k views in less than 24 hours, which is mind-blowing to me. That's not happened in like 4 years. So thank you so much, guys, for all the feedback. It's been a long time coming. We all love Mortal Kombat. I'm going to try my best to keep you guys up to date with everything MK1 I can. So if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to. It's free. And without further ado, let's go ahead and break this stuff down. Let's have some fun. And well, let's get into it. So Dynasty, what the hell is going on here? Like I mentioned, shout out to Uncanny Carlos because he came out and pieced together his own list of predictions for the cameo roster. He came out and said, choose cameo. Can you name all my cameo predictions? And Ed Boon saw that and said, Carlos, it is uncanny how many of these you got right. AKA, some of these characters will be on the MK1 cameo roster. And then Fire God Liu Kang said, let there be Dynasty's predictions. Those are my predictions for the MK1 roster. If you guys want some more MK content, like 2 days before the gameplay trailer dropped, I actually sat down and recorded like a 45-minute breakdown and analysis of the entire Mortal Kombat selection of characters, giving you my reasonings why or why not all these characters will be featured in the game. I broke it down by my base roster predictions, my cameo roster predictions, DLC character predictions, and characters not in the game. So I highly suggest go checking that out if you want to see who I thought will be in MK1. And without further ado, let's break down all these characters featured in this photoshopped image that Boon said has some characters we'll be seeing in Mortal Kombat 1. So again, shout out to Uncanny Carlos for getting Boon's attention because these hints and teases are kind of sick to constantly have. So on the very bottom left-hand side of the screen here, we have Tremor, who we've not seen since the Mortal Kombat X DLC days. And on my predictions here, I have Tremor as a base roster character. Carlos has him as a cameo. Now, I do think regardless, in some capacity, Tremor will be in Mortal Kombat 1 just because he's one of those, again, obscure characters that Boon keeps mentioning. We've only seen him playable 1 time, and it was through DLC, so I do think this guy deserves to have his own spot on some capacity here in MK1 just because, universally, I think everybody really does like Tremor. He's unique. He's got his own elemental ninja move list. He's a ninja. We've already seen that there's going to be some type of representation of the Black Dragon, and with Kano potentially not being in the game as a playable character, only just cameo, who's in charge of the Black Dragon? Maybe it's Tremor, because again, Kenshi's constantly referencing the Black Dragon of his character dialogue, so somebody's running the Black Dragon, and maybe that somebody is Tremor? I think that would be really cool, so I think there's a lot of untapped potential here, and it would be a big miss if he's not in the game in some capacity. I think he'll be a base roster character. Carlos thinks he'll be a cameo character. What do you think? I'm just happy to know that in some capacity, it seems like maybe, just maybe, we'll be seeing Tremor back. So more ninjas, the merrier. I love that for us. Now, on top of Tremor, we have Lady Chameleon. I do have her also as a cameo fighter just because we're bound to probably not get every single ninja on the roster. That rarely does happen. So what you could do to make up for those missing ninjas is just simply give her those abilities via the cameo system. Now, you guys do know the cameo system is going to give you, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4 different moves via pressing certain directions on the directional pad on your controller. So hypothetically speaking here, I'm not saying this is happening, but let's say, I don't know, Reptile doesn't get into the roster, which I think he will. Maybe Chameleon can just use his Acid Spit or his Acid Ball, or if Ermac isn't on the roster, she could use his levitation abilities from, you know, telekinesis and stuff like that. So if there's some missing ninja, she can simply mimic all those abilities via one directional pad, and I think that's really cool to have. So I do think Chameleon will probably be on the roster, Lady Chameleon in particular. Boon teased both female and male versions of Chameleon. We'll have to wait and see, and just because we've never seen Lady Chameleon on a base roster outside of Armageddon on the Wii, I think it's been a long time coming, so I'd like to see a Lady Ninja mimic character so bad. So I think she'll be on the Kameo roster, and so does Carlos. We'll see what happens. Now, right next to Lady Chameleon, we have a very unique selection here. The Shadow Priest. Yes, we're going way back in time. The Shadow Priest has been around in the background stages forever, not just one, several. Initially, I think it was like Mortal Kombat 2's Portal stage. Now, what's interesting about this character is the fact that, if you remember from my video from yesterday, Ed Boon confirmed that on the Kameo roster, we'll be seeing characters that previously were never playable characters in Mortal Kombat games. Now, I thought that meant, you know, the boss characters like Akronika, Blaze, Onaga, Mataro. Oh, Dynasty, you could use some of those in Trilogy and Armageddon. I understand that those are like full-blown roster type games. I mean, like in main streamlined games, you know what I mean? They're never playable unless it's like a fucking Armageddon Trilogy-esque game. So I thought that was in regards to boss characters. But what if it's in regards to characters like this? Like the Shadow Priest, who's been around, like I said, since Mortal Kombat 2. Just levitating in the background, looking spookier than ever. Honestly, Carlos, this was a genius pick because this fits the bill perfectly. Boon keeps saying obscure characters, characters we couldn't use before. This is the fucking definition of that. Give him some crazy abilities. I think there's a lot you could do here with this character. So I am mad at myself for not coming up with some great idea like this. Carlos, this was very clutch. I would love to see background characters introduced as the cameos because, again, it's not a full-blown moveset. It's just 4 moves, and if there was ever a time to introduce characters like this is it. It's very easy to come up with like 4 different moves versus an entire move list. So I love this idea. I hope something like this happens. Some people have been saying we need Blanche from MKX. That would be cool too. So yes, Shadow Priest is interesting. Do I think it's gonna happen? I don't think so, but if it did, oh man, that would be so sick. This would get me very excited, man. Same thing with like Hornbuckle, who fights in the background with Blaze. I think this would be such a cool addition. So yeah, Shadow Priest is a great idea. I don't think it'll happen, but if it does, I'll be on cloud 9. Now, underneath the Shadow Priest, we have Motaro, who, again, has only been playable twice. Armageddon, Trilogy. I didn't say Trilogy in my last video, and people were tearing me apart. Yes, I understand Trilogy. That was like 30 years ago, practically. Motaro. I do think Motaro will come back just because, again, on my prediction list, I also have him as a cameo fighter. And for the reason, again, just like I mentioned for Shadow Priest, it's really easy to animate 4 moves for these guys versus an entire moveset. I can already think of 4 off the top of my head. You can have like a Centaur full screen dash where he just like charges into the opponent. You could have him do like a giant tail whip, a tail sweep. You could have him do like a gotcha grab like how Jax has, we've seen already so far, where he just grabs you and punches you like back in the Mortal Kombat Trilogy days, MK3 days. And you can have like his lasers, his projectiles as well. There's 4 right there. So again, so easy to animate 4 moves like that versus having him a full-blown character with like 4 legs. I'd hate to see 2-legged Motaro again, so he's got to be a cameo character. He fits the bill again. Obscure characters you usually can't use in previous Mortal Kombat games. I think this is a lock. Again, I predicted it as well. I cannot wait to see my arch nemesis, Motaro, and MK1. It's got to happen, guys. I think Boon's even teased this on his Twitter as well, too. So, again, it seems likely. Now, next up, we have Mr. Shrek Mask himself, Draman, who I keep clamoring for the base roster, but it seems like Draman will probably be a cameo character. I predicted him, just like Carlos, to be a cameo character because that one Ed Boon tweet going back to like December of last year where he mentioned that he won't be a main character per se. At the time, I thought that meant he'd be a, you know, part of like an intro animation, how Moloch's head is carried out with Quan Chi. Yeah, I thought he'd be like in the same vein as that, like part of an intro animation, but no, now that we know what the cameo system is, it makes sense. He's gonna be like the perfect, weird, obscure 3D era represented character in this game. Boon keeps saying 3D era will be represented. This is the 3D era right here, so I do think this is a lock-in as well. I can already see him doing the club move, see him doing the ground smash, see him throwing the flies, maybe have him do some self-mutilation because this guy is essentially the serial killer of the Netherrealm. So I think there's a lot of untapped potential here as well. Really easy to create, honestly. Put the mask on somebody with burnt skin. There you go. It's Draman. So simple, so easy. I'd love to see him as a base roster character, but yeah, I think he's destined for the cameo spot, which It's bittersweet, but it is what it is, man. We're getting a 3D era in some capacity, so I can't be that sad, right? I'm pretty sad. I want him as a main character. Draman fans, don't give up hope. Keep telling Boon we want him as a main character. On top of Draman, we have his best friend, Moloch. Yes, Moloch, a very underrated sub-boss back in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. This guy and his ball and chain, I think, again, would be so easy to animate as a cameo versus a full-blown regular main roster fighter. Now, when it came to my predictions, I actually have Moloch not in Mortal Kombat 1, just because I thought there was already too many bosses on my predictions. But if we get no one that I mentioned, like a Kentaro, maybe we will get Moloch. Maybe. The ball and chain's interesting. He also has like the ball and chain he like hits on the ground. It shoots out like a giant projectile. Just like Mataro, you can have like a full screen dash as well. You can definitely do a lot with this guy. And again, if Boon's saying obscure characters, 3D era characters, characters that weren't previously playable, this guy's only playable in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. He fits the bill to everything Boon's saying. So do I think there's a chance? Yeah, probably. A pretty decent chance. I don't have him on the game's roster, but I could be wrong. So Moloch fans, there's hope. There's hope at least. Right next to Moloch, we have Suhao, who's actually featured on the T stage in Mortal Kombat 1. If you missed my video, I have a card on the screen right now. Nice little Easter egg. So because of that, I feel like he won't be in this game. But then again, he's a joke character per se that everybody kind of memes and hates. On my prediction list, I do have him because of that reason as a cameo character, but that was more me hoping versus like actually thinking. This was before we knew he was already referenced in a stage. After I saw that, I was like, oh no, if he's on the background of a stage, will he actually be playable? So I don't think it'll happen now that I've seen that. Initially, I did think that, but I think his one reference is probably all we're going to get. It seems like every game he just has like one reference. And I think that'll continue on with this game, you know, in the background as a poster. However, I hope I'm wrong because this guy's got the clap move. Yeah, gives you the clap, pause. He's also got the laser. He's also got the giant stomp. He also has a charge up move where he charges up with these like pink orbs. So he's already got like 4 different moves you could use. Maybe he does like the charge up move to make your strings a bit more powerful. So I do like him for what he is. He's a funny joke meme, but at the same time, I would love to see him come back and get some more love, but I just don't know if it's gonna happen. I feel like the poster's all we get. So yeah, Suhao, potentially a cameo fighter. Boon keeps saying obscure characters. This is definitely an obscure character choice. Deadly Alliance guy. We'll see what happens. Underneath Suhao, we have Stryker, who again is confirmed via the trailer. On top here, we have Kung Lao, who is confirmed. Underneath Kung Lao, we have Devora. Now, on my cameo fighter predictions up here, you can also see I too have Devora. And the reason why is I think just because she's pretty prominent in the most recent generation of Mortal Kombat games. She was first introduced in Mortal Kombat X. Obviously, she came back in Mortal Kombat 11. She kills fan favorites. She's always up to something. She reminds me of like this most recent generation's like Melina in a lot of ways, just because it's kind of polarizing. You either love them or you hate them. I understand Melina fans. I'm not saying she's just as good as Melina, but I think that she does have a cult following. She's very unique. She's got her appendages as well. I think there's a lot you can do with like her bugs. She can like throw her bugs as a projectile. She can like dive from the screen and just like stab. She can probably pick you up and like fly with her wings or something. Now that we have air combos, I think there's a lot of potential with Devora, and the fact that again she's been featured in back-to-back games tells me that NetherRealm Studios does love this character. Again, she's killed several fan favorite characters. She's Devora. If there was a few characters that were, you know, loved in the most recent generation, she's one of them, alongside the likes of like an Aaron Black. So I do think NetherRealm respects her, and obviously I feel like if she was back-to-back as a main fighter, people would be pissed off, but as a cameo, why not? And again, they don't have to necessarily exist in the game's main story. So how do you bring that most recent generation of new fighters into this game? Oh, well, yeah, the cameo system. So it makes sense. A lot of stuff you can do with her abilities. So yeah, I do think she'll probably be a cameo fighter. Again, I thought that as well on my roster. To the right of her, we have Sub-Zero, who's confirmed. Then we have Kano, who's confirmed. I have the Kano Eye. Then we have Sonya Blade, and then we have Scorpion. To the right of Scorpion, we have Noob Saibot. Now, this is where things get interesting because on my predictions, I have Noob Saibot as part of the Combat Pack DLC. Now, it's confirmed that the Sub-Zero in this game is actually Bi-Han, right? That is confirmed. And going back to what I just said recently, it's confirmed that cameo fighters aren't necessarily canon in the MK1's story. So, we know that Bi-Han is not Noob Saibot at this point in time. So how do you put him in the game? you make him a cameo character, or like what I think, you make him a DLC character, because again, DLC characters aren't canon. So I do think in some capacity, we'll probably get Noob Saibot back either as a DLC character or as a cameo fighter, because again, it makes sense from a canon standpoint. And I do think both work regardless, because from a marketing standpoint, everybody wants this guy in some capacity. If he was DLC, boom, that's money for WB. If he was a cameo, it's so easy to make his moves. Have him have the projectile where he throws his shadow across the screen. Have him put a portal on the ground. Have him have a teleport that picks you up and drops you. There's a lot you can do already with Noob Saibot's abilities, especially recently Mortal Kombat 11. So I do think that this guy has a really good chance to be featured in some capacity, either as a DLC character or a cameo fighter. So yeah, I think Noob Saibot's pretty much a lock for this game. As what? We don't know, but regardless, I think it's going to happen. On top of Noob Saibot, we have Jax. To the right, we have Mr. Shinnok. Now, personally, I don't have Shinnok on my predictions just because, again, he rested essentially the last game, and I don't know where he fits in this game's story. I doubt he will be in the story, and I don't know if there's enough fan demand for him to be a DLC character. So if he was in this game, I guess the only way he could be featured is through the cameo system, using his bone moves. I can kind of see like the bone hand coming from the bottom of the stage and hitting people or grabbing somebody. I can definitely see like on the bottom, on the side, the hands coming out and grabbing your opponent. I think that definitely has a lot of potential. I could definitely see him coming out and like shooting his projectile or using his emblem. There's a lot you can do with this character really quickly. So because of that, I do think as a cameo character, it makes sense. Again, in canon, he's not in the story yet. So this is the one way you can pull it off. I don't think he'll be DLC. I think there's probably a decent chance he might be a cameo, but even then, I'm skeptical. So we'll see what happens. If anything, maybe it'll be like MKX boss Shinnok and not regular Shinnok. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think there's a chance. If there was a chance, it's got to be a cameo character. Now, underneath Shinnok, we have Rai Cho. Now, coming back to my predictions, I too have Rai Cho as a cameo fighter, just because, again, he can throw his puke. He could vomit into the screen, just walks in and pukes, and that can like stun your opponent, and open him up for a combo string. You could have him come out and use his stick, have him come out and drink his bottle of alcohol and spit flames, have him come out and do the big belly bash or like the forward rolls. There's a lot you can do with Rai Cho. Again, he was featured as a DLC character back in Mortal Kombat X. I do think there's maybe a chance for him on the base roster. I doubt he'll be DLC. So again, if there was a way to bring him back, cameo just kind of makes the most sense. So I think Rai Cho is kind of a lock as a cameo. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I think me and Carlos are probably spot on with this guess. Now, to the right of Rai Cho, we have Mocap. Personally, I don't think Mocap will be in this game. However, Boon keeps saying weird, obscure characters over and over and over again, which makes me think that we might get one of these weird characters as a cameo fighter, but if we do, I'm kind of leaning towards Meat and not Mocap. I don't know how I'd feel about Mocap. I don't know. He does have a projectile. He's got like the backflip. I don't think so, but maybe. Boon's confirmed they won't be on the base roster. So again, if there was ever a way it would be via cameo, I just don't know if this is the guy. Do you guys think so? I think Meat would make more sense than Mocap, but there's some diehard Mocap fans out there. There's a whole cult following. Not many, but there is. I just personally don't think so, but I could be wrong. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Mocap. On top of Mocap, we have Goro, who is confirmed to be a cameo fighter. I didn't think Goro would be featured. I thought it'd be Kentaro, just because Kentaro has not been featured in so damn long. I knew we get probably one Shokin, and it seems like it's probably going to be Goro, not Kentaro, which kind of breaks my heart because, again, I thought Kentaro was perfect, but I guess we're getting Goro instead. I wish we could swap them out. To the right, we have Shao Kahn. Now, in my predictions, I have Shao Kahn not in this game just because I feel like the character needs a rest. He's been featured in every recent Mortal Kombat game as either a boss or a playable character. It's been done a million times. Again, it would be really easy to animate his moves through the cameo system with like just 4 moves. We don't even know if he exists in this universe yet, but again, that would make sense for what Boon's saying. They don't have to even exist in this canon story, so there's definitely a chance. Personally, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I could be wrong. Maybe all these bosses come back via the cameo system. What if it's all bosses and not weird janky characters like Mocap? I don't know, guys. I'm not feeling it. Maybe you are. It's Shao Kahn. I just feel like he's been overdone lately. Underneath Shao Kahn, we have Cassie Cage, who I think will be a DLC character. Boon has confirmed the Combat Kids aren't in the game story per se. So if they're not in the story, again, they're either DLC or they're cameo fighters. So there's a chance for you Cassie fans out there. Maybe Cassie's a cameo fighter. It's kind of weird though to have Cassie and Sonya as cameo. It is confirmed though, all but confirmed Sonya is probably a playable character. So in that regard, I can kind of see where maybe we get Cassie as a cameo, but I honestly do think she'll probably be a DLC character. But if she's not, this makes perfect sense. Again, she was such a big part of the Mortal Kombat X story. To completely get rid of her would kind of suck. To have some combat representation would be nice. Initially, I thought Sonya would probably sit out this game, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Mortal Kombat X characters, to the right of Cassie Cage, we have not Farah Tor, but just Farah. Now, in my predictions, I have both Farah and Tor as cameo characters, but if we do just get Farah, I'm kind of cool with it because I think she can kind of stand alone as her own character. Granted, Shang Tsung does have weapons just like she had back in the Mortal Kombat X days, but I do think the cameo system has to have some more female representation, and we haven't seen her since Mortal Kombat X, and again, her moveset was kind of limited because she was a 2-in-1 character, so it'd be nice to see her completely fleshed out per se. Again, if you have both Farah and Tor, plus the character you select on the base roster, that's 3 characters on one screen, which can probably be a bit OP. Granted, Kenshi has something like that, but I think when you call in Kenshi's mimic a ghost character, you can't call out your cameo fighters. So I don't think they want to have 3 characters on screen at one time. So because of that, I can see where she just kind of is a standalone character. And again, I think this character has a bunch of underdeveloped and untapped potential. So I like this a lot. And honestly, I hope this kind of does happen because I like the design of the character. I love her. I love her voice. I wish we could have the whole Master Blaster gimmick, but I understand why we probably can't. So if we can't, I had to pick between the two. As much as I love Tor, Tor is just a big brute like a Bane. I feel like Farah has a lot of potential as a standalone character. So because of that, I'm cool with this. I kind of hope this happens. Now, on top of Farah, we have the final cameo character in this photoshopped image that Boon's pretty much implying will be consisting of a bunch of characters we get in this game, is Mavado, Mr. Deadly Alliance himself. In my predictions list, I do also have him as a cameo character. If we don't get Cabal in this game at all, I do think Mavado makes the most sense because again, he is a 3D era character. He's got hook swords. He's got the ability to use his elastic little rope thingies, which I think is so unique. So I can definitely see him like elasting his way across the screen. Again, hook swords. If Cabal is not in here, that's already 2 different abilities really quickly. He's got like these boots with like these daggers on him as well. So I can kind of see him jumping on people and stabbing people. This guy's got a lot of untapped potential. Again, he's only been featured in 2 Mortal Kombat games. I think he was featured in the Mortal Kombat X comics as well. So he does have somewhat of a following. There's been some demand to see him come back because again, obscure 3-year character was just underdeveloped. I'd love to see him come back. I think there's probably a really good chance, as again, I even put him myself as a cameo character. If Cabal is not in this game, you gotta have hook swords in some capacity. It's his hook swords. It's his. Mavado's. Maybe he's borrowing Cabal's again for this game. So I do think this guy has a really good chance to be a cameo fighter. He just fits the bill perfectly. Obscure, 3D era. Maybe in this timeline, he's part of the Black Dragon, not part of the Red Dragon. That'd be a pretty cool change as well. Maybe he's a merc for Kenshi. I doubt he'll probably be in the main storyline as well. So again, it kind of fits the bill just like a lot of these other characters. Mavado, not a bad last character to talk about here. Probably be a cameo character. And just like that, we broke down this entire image courtesy of Uncanny Carlos. So I think Carlos had some great guesses. We share a lot of the same opinions on these characters. Again, if you want to see me break down the entire Mortal Kombat roster and give a whole analysis on who I think will be all those different tiers of characters, I'll have a card on the screen right now. Go watch that video. It's like 45 minutes long. I worked very hard on it. But again, shout out to Boon for teasing these guys. I really do think that once we get the final roster, we're going to be really happy. Obscure characters, 3D era characters, characters that previously weren't playable in Mortal Kombat games. Regardless, it'll be unique, and I think that's what we're all looking for, right? So I'm happy with the selections. I hope you guys are too. Who do you think from this list makes it into the Mortal Kombat 1 cameo roster? Shout out to Boon. Shout out to Uncanny Carlos. Love you guys. Thank you for all the love and support lately. If you enjoyed the video, please take 1 second and drop a like on it. Of course, subscribe for some more MK content like this on the channel. Until next time, I've been your host, Ben Dynasty. Please take care, stay safe. I love you. Peace.
Living on it crack, but I'm not superstitious. Count all these